Hello everybody. Today is a big day because we're going to perform the big cut. The big cut is cutting the bubble, the plexiglass bubble, into two parts. A windscreen, a forward windscreen, and a canopy bubble. We continue on the preparations that we made in the previous video, where we fitted the canopy frame into the bubble to decide where to make the big cut, because it needs to be just forward of the canopy frame, and the part that you cut off will be the windscreen, so the forward windscreen that will later be placed onto the fuselage. So now that the canopy fits, canopy frame, we can mark the place where to cut the plexiglass bubble into two parts. After making some marks, we use tape, painter's tape, to tape the line where we need to cut it, because we thought it would be easier to see it than a Sharpie mark. So we use tape for that. So we put the table outside. First we wanted to make extra heat, but the sun was really shining great, so we decided we could just do it without extra heating. It was already about 30 degrees centigrade outside, so that's okay. And yeah, we can work in the sun, that's also good. We do some extra measurements to see if everything is okay. And yeah, checking and double checking, because what I said earlier, if you make a mistake here, then you need to buy a new bubble, which is very expensive, as so I've been told. The canopy bubble is a little bit too wide for the table, so we need some placements to make it fit. Just to be sure, I tape it together, probably not necessary. I use a normal angle grinder for this work with a very thin blade. There are, I think, special tools for it, but I heard that a normal angle grinder works fine, so that's okay. I use ear protection and also a mask. I'm not sure if it's necessary, but I guess it's not that healthy to breathe molten plexiglass. So what we did is, after we are grinding the parts, we put tape over it so it won't break when you're working on the last few inches. And well, it went actually very well. It was quite easy. Next up is sanding the edges, because the edges still have marks from the grinder, the angle grinder. So you need to sand that, and then it's done. So now that the big cut is done, we can start with the little cuts, you could say. So we're going to mark it off and just trim everything from the canopy frame part that we don't need, both the sides and also the rear part. Now the rear part we let stick over a little bit, because the rear skirts, the aluminum rear skirts, we are going to glue that onto the aft part of the canopy. So we leave a little bit in there just to make it work, to glue. So we again taped it, and now we can do that part. Because it went very well, yeah, it actually goes quite fast. So I make first a small cut, probably halfway the plexiglass, and then the next time I cut it all through. So the rear part is also done. As you can see, it sticks a little bit over, probably 2 inches, which is nice. And now we can start doing the side parts. We use the clamps, so there is no big distance between the canopy frame and the bubble, or else you would have probably deviations from it. And now we can do the last two parts, the bottom parts. Turned out that those were a little bit too conservative. In one of the next videos you'll see that I had to cut off a little bit more, but well, it's better to have to cut again than to have cut too much. probably could have known it and yeah, spare the extra work, but okay. And again, you have to sand off all the edges so that it's not burred, and also that the plexiglass is clean. The reason is that they say that if the marks are still there, there is, let's say, points of pressure points that can make the plexiglass easier break. Here you can see it on the fuselage. So the forward windscreen is on the fuselage and the canopy, frame and bubble are placed. Nice, now we can store the windscreen and we can continue building my pie in the sky.